Welcome everyone to today's video. We're the Dimitrov-Boulay piano duo. My name is Dimitri Dimitrov.
My name is Elvira Boulay.
Elvira had the idea that we talk about small things that are going to make a big impact on your piano playing. Guess what? I think this is a clickbait. No, honestly, I think that this, because we were on Facebook and I know about this, somebody mentioned something like that, I honestly found it a little bit weird, like clickbaity kind of thing, because I personally can't for the life of me come up with things that are small but that would make a big impact. I don't like this kind of, I never use that with my students. You do this and then your life will change.
No, I don't think that we both believe in that. I think it's more about habits. If you want a good practice routine, I think it's about changing habits. Because it's the same with anything that you want to achieve. If you want to go on a diet, if you want to become more fit, I don't think there's anything really small that you can do that would have a huge impact. I do think that if you've got all the right habits in place, for example, you've got a great practice routine, you're doing all the right things, and those are things that we regularly discuss on the channel, like practicing in different tempi, making sure to practice slow and middle and fast, practicing with metronome. If you have all these things already in your practice routine, if that's already set, then I believe you could do one or two small things that just have a relatively large impact that would just put it over the top.
Yes, but that's my problem. You mentioned practicing with metronome, you mentioned this and that. I consider those things to be I don't even consider them. I don't know what's a small and what's a big thing. I think those are smaller things that put together will make a big impact on your playing. So what the hell is a real small thing?
I could think of only one thing
What's
that I would personally consider small, and it would only work, to be honest, if you have all the other things that we were talking about already and that we regularly talk on about the channel already in place. So, and that would be for me, and I see this during my teaching, what a large impact it has. That would be writing everything down. Now, I don't think we've ever discussed this on the channel. If you follow us regularly, you've heard us saying write your fingering down always.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm talking about everything. So, for example, you're learning a new piece, and I do this myself. When I'm learning a new piece, anything that goes wrong a couple of times, I'm going to stop and I'm going to write something down to remind me not to do that.
Okay, but you mentioned writing fingering down. Is that a small thing?
Writing fingering down is maybe not a small thing, but for example,
writing what then down?
If you, for example, keep forgetting a flat,
yeah,
right? You keep on playing a natural, there's written a flat. Writing that flat down, I think, is a small thing, because the thought in your head is already, oh, again, I forget the flat, oh, again.
Mm-hmm.
So the thought is already there, and then I think just to follow through and write that with a pencil, make sure you have a pencil right next to the piano.
So you mean that if you write the flat down, that after that will make a big impact, because
Yes.
you stop playing a natural,
Yes.
and you finally fix your mistake.
Because you see it's an extra trigger to help remind you not to make the mistake. So whatever mistake you're making, sometimes, for example, in my own practice, if I need to jump upwards to catch a chord, and for whatever reason I keep jumping downwards, because this sometimes happens, I would write an arrow going up in front of that chord, so that in advance I try to just avoid that mistake, and I just trigger something extra to make that jump. And I think that has a large impact, and it's something relatively small.
I 100% agree that would have a huge impact. Now, I don't agree that writing things down is a small thing. I'll give you an example. You're playing a place that you're constantly rushing. For the same purposes, you can also say, with the same idea, you can say, well, finally I can just click that metronome and practice with metronome.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what is a smaller thing? And what is a small thing? I would consider that putting the metronome and playing finally that passage with metronome is a small thing that will have a huge impact on that particular passage. How is writing things down a small thing, or let's say a metronome, playing with metronome, a big thing?
I would Personally, and I'm very curious actually to hear what you think about this. Personally, I think writing something down, as opposed to practicing exactly this passage with a metronome, for you there's no difference. But I
Yes.
think for a lot of you out there is a big difference, because practicing with metronome is for a lot of you unpleasant, because you get confronted with the fact you hear really what's wrong, and you hear how wrong it is, and you get this confrontation. And nobody's going to confront you for writing an arrow or for writing a flat in your score. So I think that is what makes it smaller for me.
Now let's
Easier.
see who is going to be the bad guy. You can vote down below and tell us what is a small thing. Writing things down in the score or practicing one particular passage with metronome. I'm not talking about all the time with metronome. I'm talking about because you mentioned a flat.
Yeah.
You can write a flat. Not fingering, because fingering is a big deal. So I'm saying, in my defense, not practicing all the time with metronome,
Yeah, okay.
but one particular passage, like one particular flat. How is that any different? I just don't see it. So I'm very, very curious what you think. Of course, I know you're going to side with Elvira. Yeah, I will be the bad guy. I can take the hit, but I really don't see the difference.
Well, maybe you can also explain to us why that would feel like a bigger or smaller
Because-
thing. We'd be
look-
interested.
Okay, let's, for the sake of a little argument. If I'm in the music
Mm-hmm.
and I'm really enjoying and, I don't have the habits of writing things down, how can I get myself to stop and finally write that flat? Or that little note in it?
You kind of got me there.
Or I'm in the flow of music. Oh, I don't want to just click on the metronome now and practice. The same thing. Like, for me, personally, if I have to be honest, sometimes even I'm in the music and don't want to pick the pencil up and write something down. So let alone somebody who doesn't have that habit. So, listen, I absolutely agree with Elvira. Don't misunderstand it. Everything that you're saying is absolutely perfect, and it's going to make a big impact. Writing things down, practicing with metronome. I just have a problem with the concept of small things making a big impact. We're not the type of people that are going to provide, that will give you clickbaits and change your life kind of thing in a day, and I just don't believe in that. So I have a big trouble with that concept, I think, in general. So saying what's a smaller, what's a bigger. But anyway, we can take a vote, and if Elvira wins, I will never anymore make videos, and she'll be the only one on the camera. Now, because the sun is coming, we have to be very quick, because otherwise it distorts the light. I had an idea, a small thing that's going to change your piano playing forever, and you're going to be number one. Practice in small chunks of time. I think that's a small thing.
I like that, yeah.
Go behind the piano for 15 minutes. And you know why? You're going to be always much more inspired than sitting and knowing that you have to sit behind the piano 1 hour, unless you're the type of person who always loves that. That could be. But practicing for 15 minutes at a time, it's a small thing, but it's going to have a big impact, because you're going to be more inspired, you're going to be more focused. So there are a lot of benefits to practicing in small chunks. Now, maybe you can argue that that's a big thing.
I don't want to argue. That was brilliant. I'm only mad that I didn't think about it.
Because it's so simple. You just say,
That
"Oh,
is easy to do.
even if you want to practice 1 hour today, why don't you do it in increments of 4 times of 15 minutes, or 2 times of half an hour,
That's a really good
or
one.
3
Yeah.
times of 20 minutes? I mean, just do the opposite of what I say. And this, I think, can make actually a big impact. I'm not saying that you will be lang, but it's going to really improve your playing. And the second thing that I had in mind, small thing that's going to make a big impact, again, we can argue what's small, what's big, but it's take the time to do what's right, to play that right note, instead of playing the wrong one and having to fix it. For me, that's a very small thing, and I think everybody can do it, but nobody has the patience to, and it seems like a very big thing, like everything else. But it really isn't a big thing, because if you think about it, if you sit behind the piano, and if you relax, and if you enjoy the music, and if you take the time to play that right note, to write that flat, take the time to do that, you will see that instead of playing a natural instead of a flat, instead of playing B instead of A, whatever, it's going to make a big impact, it's going to have a big influence on how you play piano, because you simply take the time and you teach yourself good habits. But again, yeah, I said it enough. Small and big things, it's for me nonsense. But
Yes, I would.
even though our video is going to be called nonsense, yeah,
I would
the absurdity of that.
I would
paradox.
practice learns that is a big thing for students to do, because I can never get you guys
No,
patient enough to
No,
do
it sounds like a big thing.
So I would consider that a big thing. But I think that the other two that we hit on were really very small. Well, let us know what you think.
I could agree with you
Yeah.
that this one that I mentioned is, if you have a little bit of skills and if you're used to that, it's actually a small thing that has really, I can promise you that if you're able to do that, you will have enormous results. But I agree with you that that's already bordering on.
And we don't actually know why it's a big thing for you guys. So
No.
maybe you can actually tell us. We don't know. Just like I said, the practice has taught us that just almost nobody is able to do that.
Yeah, I think you have to have a lot of experience and you have to be already having very good way of practicing. Anyway, I consider it a small thing, and at some point it could be a small thing to you.
Oh, that's actually nice.
That's going to have even bigger results on your playing. But yeah, not many people are able to do that. But anyway, the other things that we mentioned are really doable. This is also doable, perhaps from time to time. Who knows? It's going to have you're going to be happy if you try that. Anyway, not necessary to make this video any longer, because we're going to be talking to you every week on different subjects, and this subject is going to come back at some point. We just wanted to share a few thoughts that we had. And now, first of all, the most important, thank you to everyone who subscribed to our channel. We're very grateful because we're on our way to 500 subscribers, and that feels really nice. So yeah, thank you to everyone who is watching and who subscribed. And if you want to help us, just share it with other people who love music, who are playing piano and want to learn things. You also don't forget that if you want to hear us play more and give little tips now and then, on Facebook we do that very often, and on Instagram as well as on TikTok, even though there we don't completely connect with TikTok yet with the platform. But Facebook and Instagram, we're very often there. So if you want to hear me playing my own music, and also of course other classical pieces, Elvira playing as well and giving tips, join us there as well. For us, recording this video for you as always was an enormous pleasure. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next week again. And in today's video, Elvira had the idea that we talk about small things that are going to make a big impact on your video. You get it, right?
Your video?
In your video, did I say that?